little bit tough. I want to get things started. I just want to thank a couple of people, as long as they're still in the house. Mr. Pat McClune from the Daily News. He's over here. I want to thank Jared Boyko for Philadelphia Eagles, making us all like prizes. And I just want to give you a little rundown. All the money we generate goes into a scholarship fund, and the scholarship fund is used for the high school all-star football game for the players, cheerleaders, and band members. Last year, we gave in excess of $12,000 for this banquet. So I want to keep that stuff going. Also, your tickets, the bottom is the stub. Please fill out the back if you can. You need to give the stub in order to get a dinner. We use the stub to put you on the mailing list so you can get a newsletter. Also, there's applications there to become members. All right, to get started with the program, I want to bring up Mr. Bob Caesar. Wait, before I do that, I got a couple of things. Bob, can you come up? The first thing I want to do is I want to bring up three young ladies. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to bring up Lisa Del Vecchio, Katie Del Vecchio, and Nicole Del Vecchio. They're from the Atlantic City Community College, and they're here for one of our reward winners. Girls, will you please come up? They're Linda McGee's nieces. Can everybody please rise?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to bring up Dennis Trim now to do the invocation. Please stay standing.
Heavenly, most gracious Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to honor the Hall of Fame inductees. It is with your blessing that we are able to enjoy the camaraderie that sports provides, enriching our lives as we both participate and watch young athletes compete and old officials officiate. We ask your blessing on our young men and women who are serving the armed services. May you guide and protect them as they complete their mission in Iraq. May you also be with their families at this trying time. Lord, we ask that you bless the food that we are about to partake. May it nourish our souls as well as our bodies. Bless those who prepared the food and those that are about to serve us. And as the evening draws on towards the conclusion, may your love and protection go with each and every one of us as we go our separate ways. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right, I want to bring Bob Caesar up, and then we're going to go on that. They're going to start serving dinner. Then we'll do the awards. After dinner, we'll have cinnamon speakers coming up and just give us details.
Diane Carroll, Diane Carroll, please come up to the booth. Diane Carroll.
Congratulations on your win. Nice start in the season.
Diane Carroll has done such tremendous work for for Hall of Fame, and she's been helping to move her folks right-hand ladies, and she's just an outstanding worker and a wonderful person. And at this time, we'd like to present her the very prestigious Liberty Bell from the city of Philadelphia. And let's get Diana up again. And also, he's a lifetime member to the Hall of Fame. Diana, congratulations. This time I'd like to introduce the host for tonight, our MC, Harry Donahue. Harry.
Thanks, Bobby. Hi again, everybody. Those of you who have attended this dinner in the past realize that I have been doing this now for, I guess, the past 7 or 8 years. I was telling someone earlier tonight how I got started in this. A lot of people remember the late Bill Branson. Bill and I were colleagues at KYW News Radio, and Bill used to be the MC for this affair every year. And one day, Billy got sick, and he called me at home in the middle of the afternoon, and he said, listen, he said, can you do me a big favor? I'm supposed to MC the Hall of Fame dinner tonight, and I can't make it. Can you pinch hit for me? I said, no problem, Brant. And I feel like I took Wally Pipp's place because I've been here ever since. I'm hardly the Iron Horse. Pretty soon I think Bill's going to have to get somebody else. But he did say he wanted to wrap this thing up by 9:30. That's good for me because I get up every morning at 3 o'clock. So I guarantee you we'll be on our way out of here by 9:30 tonight. Enjoy your dinner. And then later on we'll have a chance of meeting and listening to inductees for the 2003 class of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame Philadelphia chapter. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks. Dozen inductees in the class of 2003. There's some people I want to recognize. Previous honorees who are with us tonight in attendance. Maybe they can just stand up and you hold your applause until everybody's been introduced, if you would. First, we'll go alphabetically. Bob Caesar. Bob Clark is here. Ron Cohen. Also, Patrice Cohill, who lent me her pen, and I will get it back to her. Thank you, Patrice. Rick Scolaro, Wayne Cunningham, Eddie DiCamillo, Larry Cardonic, Bill Escher, Bill Halstead, of course, you've already met, Frank Cosman, John and Vince McEnany are both here tonight with us. We also have Ray Curry, Al Paroli, Vince Presto, Hatzi Reinfeld, John Schreier, Whitey Sullivan, Barbara Thomler, Gaffer Walsh, and Vince Trombetta. Stand up and let's hear a quote. Late addition to the list is Dottie Walton. All right, Dottie. We also want to recognize tonight a Hall of Famer in his own right, only with the National Basketball Hall of Fame up in Springfield, Mass. Of course, with Villanova and the Philadelphia Warriors, Mr. Paul Arison. Paul, where are you? Paul Arison, pitching Paul with us tonight. Thank you. Tonight, as you look up here at the head table and you see a dozen people who are about to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, somebody asked me tonight what I thought about this awards banquet and the significance of it. I said, you know, the interesting thing about this is, for a lot of these people, a Hall of Fame honor is old hat, and you'll hear about it, or you'll read about it in their biographies tonight. They've been honored throughout their lifetime for their achievements in athletics, either at the high school, the college, or the professional level. But for others, maybe this is their one time and only time being inducted into a Hall of Fame. So tonight, these people are all equals. They share a certain common bond in that they love sports, they competed, or in some cases wrote about it or talked about it, and they excelled at whatever they did. And for that, we take time out tonight to honor them and honor their families and friends who are gracious enough to be with us tonight. And we want to thank you as well. Maybe you were an inspiration to their careers. A common thread ever since I've been doing this in honoring these Hall of Fame inductees has been a certain Temple University presence at all these dinners. And our first honoree tonight has that Temple background. In fact, we're honoring him posthumously. He played at Olney High School back in the late 40s. He was a free sport letter winner in baseball. He won a public league championship. He played basketball at Olney High and was also the all-public quarterback and defensive back for Olney. He went on to Temple University, where he started at both defensive back, and he was a 60-minute player. He was also a starting quarterback for the Owls back in the early 50s. Later, he even had a tryout with the Baltimore Colts, but he was drafted into the service. And a kid by the name of Johnny Unitas came along and was the quarterback, so that was the end of his professional career. But as I said, he was a great high school and college performer. He did play a little bit up in the Canadian Football League with the Ottawa Rough Riders. And he also was a coach at Temple University. In fact, one of his freshman team football players was Bill Cosby back in the mid-50s. Ladies and gentlemen, here to accept the award for his father, Gus Braccia. Let's welcome Guy Braccia.
The most important lesson that I learned from my father's participation in sports was that the friendships that you make are the most genuine, close, lifelong friendships that you can make. On behalf of my dad, my family, and myself, I'd like to thank the Philadelphia chapter of the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame for the honor of being inducted. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank a lot of my dad's friends that are out there tonight for the generosity, caring, and love that they've showed to my sister and myself over the years since his passing. Thank you very much.
And Guy just picked a winning ticket for us here for one of our raffle items. It's 049675. 049675. Go to table 1 if you have that winning ticket. Number 2 tonight, and this woman, her middle name I think is Hall of Famer. She's not a native Philadelphian. She grew up in New York City, attended Brooklyn College, and now for the last 31 years has been director of fencing and the women's photo coach at Temple University. You talk about a winning percentage. How about 441 and 116? That translates to about 80% winning percentage in her career at Temple University. She was a great fencer in her own right. In fact, she was on the U.S. Olympic team back in 1976 and also 1980. And she was the national foil champion in both 1975 and 1980. But she has certainly left her mark and her legacy at Temple University, where she is also a member of the Hall of Fame. She's a member of the Brooklyn College Hall of Fame, and now we welcome her tonight as a member of the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame, Philadelphia chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the nicest women you'll ever want to meet, Nikki Frank.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be inducted into the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, and I really do appreciate it. I have been very, very fortunate. I learned how to be a good coach from my college coach, who didn't teach me how to be a good coach, but showed me what a good coach does and what a good coach is all about. And I had a club coach here when I came to Philadelphia, Lajos Chiza, who really taught me how to motivate people, how to teach young people how to dream and go after those dreams and not be afraid. I've had the support of Temple University for 31 years. They gave me an opportunity when I was fresh out of college to not only become a college coach, but to begin to start a program, a banking program at Temple. And it was a wonderful opportunity, and I hope I've done them proud and they don't regret that initial opportunity. And last but not least, I want to thank my family. My husband Norman is here, and without his support and helping to raise our children and all the hours that I put into the team, he's just been a great support. And I have some friends here that it's good to see Aggie and Lurleen and some people that I've known for many, many years and have always been there. So again, thank you very, very much. I truly appreciate this honor.
Nikki has picked the following number for our raffle, 049605. 49605, table 1, if you have that one. Thank you. Well, our next inductee is going to break the Temple link here a little bit. He is a Philadelphian. He was a legendary high school football player and father judge, and went on to be an All-American in 2 sports at the United States Military Academy at West Point. Not 1 sport, but 2. Back at Father Judge, he was an all-Catholic football player in the mid-60s, all-Catholic baseball as well. Went to West Point, where he set the Academy single-game rushing record. Back in 1968, he rushed for 255 yards against Boston College in 1 game. But he was also, in addition to being an All-American running back for West Point, an All-American lacrosse player. And now he joins the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame Philadelphia chapter. Back in Northeast Philadelphia tonight for this honor, and a Father Judge and West Point. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome and say hello to Charlie Jarvis.
Thanks so much. Thanks for putting up with me tonight. It really is a pleasure to be here. I'm truly honored for this opportunity to be here. In all honesty, I'm a little bit humbled by this whole scenario tonight. I understand the committee that selects the individuals to attend the operation kind of looks for the secondary or whatever athletes that are participating in the world sports around the Philadelphia area. And I'm truly humbled by this. I really do appreciate the opportunity. I guess the last time I've been to a function like this, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, so I don't get out too often. I got to tell you, it is really, really great. We all have that common thread where we kind of relate to the individuals that we played sports with many years ago. And it's just like judge guys to get together and kind of tell lies about how good we were way back when. The interesting thing about the way back when part of it was, there's 3 phases of life that we all have to go through. When you come back to these functions, you realize, quite frankly, how much those 3 phases of life come into focus. Of course, youth, which is great, and then of course, middle age, which is okay. And then what I'm experiencing tonight is look good now. So I'm obviously in phase 3. But, to make a long story short, this is really a real treat for me. In addition to thanking my family for making the effort to be here tonight, and that would include my wife Michelle, who's here, my sister Jean and her husband Terry, my sister Mary is here, my beautiful daughter Janine and our new husband Dave. I also have another family. Oh, I'm sorry, my parents. parents, Brad and Buck, 81 and 82 years old. Brad and Buck, give a wave there, give a wave. I was very lucky growing up. I think one of the greatest gifts you can have is that passion for sports. And I think certainly I was very, very fortunate to have that passion. But more importantly, I had parents that were supportive and encouraging, and that's something I'll never forget. I also have another family of sorts here tonight. I guess we could actually have a starting football team here tonight. Father Judge, 1964 city title teams here tonight, for the most part. But even before 64, we had, I have to give special thanks to Frank Bento. Frank was here and basically got the word out to our other folks that this function was going on tonight. And quite frankly, I don't think I've ever really met anybody like Frank. He had enthusiasm, he had spirit, he had attitude, he had drive. All that packaged together with a lot of talent. And we looked up to him, and he really gave us a lot of direction as underclassmen. And again, I don't think I've ever really met anybody like Frank. I'd like to ask Frank to just stand up, and I want to say thanks for all you ever done. Anybody that met Frank, or anybody that just meets Frank, realizes that if you were looking up the definition of gentleman or first class, you would find his name. Great. Thanks, Frank. Thank you. Also here tonight is Bill Kelly and Gary Lehman, our co-captains from the 1964 Father Judge City title team. And one of the beauties of sports is the fact that there are just some things that are frozen in time. And that particular game where we were in the city title game against Frankfurt, sorry, Blair, but we actually ended up beating Frankfurt in the city title game. To be honest with you, it's frozen in time. It was a long time ago. It may as well have been last week, or even 1 o'clock this afternoon as far as I'm concerned. Because it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. We lived off of it. And all the guys that are here tonight, I know you too the same way. It's just been a marvelous experience. We've all thrived on this particular experience. And, not to bore people to death, but we were down 18-12 and pouring rain at Franklin Field. We had like about 55, or I guess just under 3 minutes to go about 65 yards. I still remember Jerry Bradford recovering the fumble. Jerry's here. Franklin Wigan making some fabulous, really tough runs. Bill Kelly scoring the tying touchdown, and of course the extra point. I had a great the best seat in the house. I was the holder, and Jimmy Armstrong, who had like 6 broken fingers, was doing the Phil Negro imitation where he was centering the ball. And I looked back to Bill Kelly and I said, "You ready?" He didn't even answer. This guy had that unbelievable determination in his face. Nice water in his veins, and maybe another gallon of the uniform because it was raining so bad, and put that ball right through the operation. It's one of those, to this day, it's one of the most precious moments I've ever experienced. Would Bill Kelly stand up? Bill, right. Most valuable player, Father Judge, 1962. One of the great things that I've ever really experienced is just being involved in sports. I was very, very fortunate that I had passion that I had for sports growing up. but I have to thank my parents again because, quite frankly, they gave me the encouragement. They gave me the spirit to go forward. And I thank them so much for it. To Milt Halstead and to Mike Poland and Frank Cosman and all the other committee members, and I understand this is all a volunteer effort here. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. Really appreciate the effort. And I have to tell you, I'm extremely honored to have been selected to be in the Pennsylvania. Thanks so much.
And the winning ticket selected by Charlie was 049808. 049808. Go to table 1 and collect. We also want to mention someone else who's here tonight, a previous inductee, and I think he's closing in on 1,000 wins in his coaching career at Temple University. One of his former players is going to be honored later on. I'm sure he'll have something to say about Skippy Wilson. Where's Skip? Our next honoree was born in the city, went to high school at Lower Merion, served in the Navy, and then returned to go to Haverford College. Lettered in 3 sports, football, wrestling, and baseball. And then, after graduating from Haverford, began a teaching career and coaching career that spanned more than 50 years. For 15 years, he was at Penn Charter. He was the athletic director at Penn Charter. He was also football, wrestling, tennis, and baseball coach. And he had 6 national prep school wrestling championships at Penn Charter. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to our inductee tonight to the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, Philadelphia chapter, Phil Baroni.
I'd like to thank Milt Halstead, his officers and directors for this occasion. It's a wonderful individual honor, but I look at it more as a tribute to a sport that is not always recognized in the Philadelphia area. That's wrestling. It's got a late start. Football, basketball, baseball, and soccer, deservedly so, represent a great many of the members here tonight. But wrestling just was a slow starter. It was popular upstate, but around this area in the early 40s, there were only half a dozen suburban schools and a couple of prep schools, and that was sports. And there was one city school, and I defy anyone in the room to tell me who it was. St. Tommy Moore. Forever. Yep, they were the only ones in the city that had the sport until years later. I think the popularity grew during World War II because those of us in the service, in boot camp, had to take wrestling and boxing as well. And so we got introduced to it in a hurry. I was lucky to go to a high school that had the sport, Lower Merion. And no, I didn't know Kobe Bryant. He was a few years after me. I did know Chuck Barris, though. He was there when I was. But he wasn't in the CIO. After college and going into teaching and coaching, I decided that refereeing might be fun too. 50 years later, I hung up my whistle. Most of the stories about referees are negative, but there's one that I particularly like. My wife used to ask me about refereeing, and I said, well, if you want to know about it, come and watch sometime. So she came with me to the University of Delaware for a match that I thought would be very calm and quiet and nobody would get out of hand. Well, it started with the first bout. Somebody behind her, a guy, loudmouth guy, started in on my case, and he didn't let up.
and he yelled and hollered and screamed and blamed until about halfway through the match when he tapped my wife on the shoulder and said, "How come you're not yelling at the ref?" She said, "Because when we go home, I can yell at him anytime I want." I'd like to thank my wife for putting up with me for all these years. Also, the 7 referees from the Southeastern Pennsylvania chapter who are in attendance tonight. I think that speaks well for our sport. And for my friend Ron Colston, who put people up to this whole event. And thank you all for a wonderful evening. Charlie Jarvis, I think we just passed into phase 4.
And the winning ticket picked by Phil 049669. 049669. I feel like I should say open, but no transportation after that. All the snow numbers here. All right, our next inductee, I remember hearing about him back in the late 70s and 1980, the year the Phillies won the pennant. I spent a lot of time down at the ballpark covering the Phillies. And there was one guy in particular who worked for the city down at the vet that always used to say, I had to keep my eye on this kid, this catcher, who grew up downtown. Now, if you're not from Philadelphia, downtown doesn't mean Center City, it means South Philly, right? Well, this kid was from downtown. Now, he went to school uptown, he went to Central High. Maybe he can explain what happened there, but anyhow, he said, "What? Keep your eye on this kid. He's going to be playing on this field someday. He's going to be a big league catcher." Is Sparky here? Or Spanky? Where's Spanky? There he is. Remember, Spank? You told me. You were the prophet. But anyhow, he went to Central, and he went to Temple, and he was an All-American catcher at Temple, and he played on the Pan Am team. And he played on the U.S. Olympic team in 1984. In fact, he was the first member of that team that had a home run in Olympic competition. He was the first-round draft pick of the Red Sox in '84, and he played with them until 1993 and was catcher for Roger Clemens for 2 of his 5 Cy Young Awards with Boston. Later, he played with Seattle and the Texas Rangers, and now he's back home. And you watch him on Comcast Sportsnet as he analyzes Phillies games. But he was some player himself, and tonight we welcome into the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, here's John Marzano.
I got 4 pages here, but I won't be that long. I was hoping my name was Jarvis when I first came up here. I want to say congratulations to everyone up there. I am so honored, and I feel humbled because I really feel like I don't belong up here with some of the inductees that are up here. You have guys that have coached wrestling for 50 years, that have played for 20 years, and here I am, this young 40-year-old guy with all these old men. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. You know, I want to thank the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame. I really am so honored that I'm inducted, and I hope that I can honor you guys by being here and by going on Comcast and showing you that I belong, and I'm from South Philly, and I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm from Pennsylvania, because I truly am so honored to be from Pennsylvania, and I've traveled all over the country, but I'm so honored to be from South Philly, to be from Philadelphia, and to be from Pennsylvania. Funny, I can play in front of 50,000 people and not be nervous. I get up here and I'm nervous. It's crazy. You know, I have a list of Hall of Famers in my life, and to me, they are the most important people in my life, and I like to have a list of Hall of Famers that I'd like to introduce you people to tonight, and they've meant so much in my life, and if I get a little emotional, I'm really sorry, because these people have meant so much in my life, and without them, I probably wouldn't be here today. And You know, I've been really fortunate to have such great people in my life, and number one is Spanky, Gabriel DiFelicio Antonio. He helped me out when I was a kid, when I didn't know how to play baseball. Taught me how to be tough, and the people, when they played against me in the big leagues, they knew I was from South Philly, and Spanky was my coach, because when I went into second base, I went in hard every time, and that's because of Spanky. I want to thank Steve Koploff. Steve, can you stand up, please? Steve Koploff's throwing pitches right now for the Arizona Diamondbacks in the big leagues, and when I retired from baseball, I was a nervous wreck. I called Steve, I said, Steve, what am I going to do with my life? I said, I played baseball my whole life, and you talk about a friend and a father figure. He gave me a plan for my life, what to do. He said, get your family from Arizona, come back to Philadelphia where you belong, and I've been so successful because of him. Thank you, Steve. Another guy who's been an unbelievable influence, and he's an honoree also, it's Skip Wilson. Skip, stand up, please. Anytime I have a problem, the poor guy, his phone rings. It's unbelievable. Anytime I have a problem or I need someone to talk to, I call Skip Wilson. Since my dad passed away, he's one guy I can call, get advice from. He's always there, he always listens, and nobody's better than me at Comcast, that's for sure, Skip. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I got my sisters here, Kathy and Joyce, where are you? They sacrificed a lot in their lives for me. They still treat me like a little baby, but I appreciate everything you sacrificed in your life for me, and my brother-in-law's for marrying. Thank you. Appreciate it. God bless you. My mom and dad, my mother and father-in-law's here, Mr. and Mrs. Kava. You guys have given me the greatest gift of my life, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys for that. Thank you. My mom, I told you, I'm a big baby, guys. Sorry about that. She's the rock of our family, man. She sacrificed so much for me in my life. I'm really thankful. I feel like Jim Tomei. Where's my wife, Terry? Can you stand up, hon? Oh, guys, close your eyes, guys. You talk about a woman that is strong, that has to put up with somebody like me year in and year out. She's moved 20 times, lived in 5 houses, 4 dogs, 5 cats, 2 kids, 7 hamsters. And no matter where we went, no matter what we did, she always made my apartment or wherever I was at feel like home. Like Jim Tomei says, she's my rock, and without her, I wouldn't be up here today. Thank you, honey. My daughters, Danielle and Dominique, stand up, please. Again, guys, hide your eyes out, please. They also sacrificed a lot in their lives for me to live my dream. They've moved countless number of times, had friends in Arizona, had to leave, had friends in Massachusetts, had to leave, had friends all over, but whatever I had to do, they always picked up and came with me. Thank you. Last guy, I want to talk about his new dad. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. He sacrificed so much in his life for me. Sorry, guys. I never had a chance to stand up and talk about him. I got inducted into the Hall of Fame before, but I could never stand up here and talk about it. He sacrificed so much of me and gave me the life, and the kind of person I am is because of him. Dad, I hope you're proud of me. Thank you.
Let me read off 3 more raffle winners: 049-589, 049-589, 049-661, and 049-761. If you have them, go to table 1 to collect. Our next inductee is a 1958 graduate of West Catholic High School, where he played soccer and baseball. Later went to Mount St. Mary's College in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and has been involved in sports officiating for the last 40 years. He's worked major college football, baseball, and softball. He also officiated in the last 2 city title games in football and basketball in Philadelphia. He worked the College World Series softball in 1981, and he also worked 17 Catholic Finals national tournaments, and officiated in 6 public league championships in basketball and 34 in football in the city of Philadelphia. Let's welcome Tom McLean to the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor and a privilege to be here on this dais with so many celebrities up front. I do have a few people I'd like to thank for all the things that they did for me. Fortunately, a couple of them are not with us. In fact, some of those guys at that table are still with us, and I wish they weren't. But in baseball, I had some great teachers. Both the gentlemen are not with us, but Jimmy McCabe was one of the ones that really influenced me, and the late Ernie Gallagher. And we do have his son here with us this evening, but 2 of the greatest ball and strike men and common sense officials I ever had to work with. And in softball, again, a couple of people that are no longer with us, Mitch Price and Joe Lees. And in basketball, there's a guy that I actually shook hands with earlier tonight, and thank God that he was at Bexel on the Boulevard that night, or me, Jimmy Tobin, and the rest of us would still be there taking that test. Bill Murphy. I had the late Dickie Callahan, a fellow who could not be with us tonight. He's having a hip replacement, Bob Whelan, my good friend Jerry Meister, and then the football guys. And there's a ton of them here tonight. Guys that I always looked up to when I was copying the answers. Nick Traynor and Ray Lyons and Jack Ruane were in my class along with Tommy White, NFL fame, and the late Jim Egan. And I know Jim Riley is here in attendance. He was one of my sponsors, as was Vince Presto. So if you have any arguments about the football end, they got me into it. It's great to be here to share a special night, again, with my honored colleagues up here. And people ask you, what are some of the things? I do recall 2 people also that basically wrote our letters in those days, and they're both in attendance tonight. Vince McInerney happened to be the coach at West Catholic, and Al Angelo was the coach at Frankfurt, and they both wrote my notes for me to kind of enter the college ranks. And I was a young official at the time, and somebody said, is there anything that you kind of looked at and can look and laugh about? And I said, way back in the year 1966, and I'm sure there's a few people in this audience that might not have even been born then, but I was a very, very young official in a Catholic League title game that was twice postponed because of snow. And again, it was my alma mater, West Catholic, playing Bishop Egan, Dick Bedison, and the great Bishop Egan teams of that era. And I was very, very nervous, a young kid. I was the field judge in that game. Other George Keenan, Joe Byers, Tom Elliott, and Ike Woolley for the other crew, but I do remember being very, very nervous on the sideline. And there was an old Jewish fellow who I'm sure many of us of the older group remember, who used to sell popcorn and peanuts called Yo-Yo at the Balestra and such. And he happened to be on the sideline at Temple Stadium, and I was waiting to go out to give the ball to the kicker, and Bishop Egan was in there, a huddle, saying a Hail Mary full of grace, etc., with Lady of Victory, pray for us. And I happened to turn and I looked at him, as I was very, very nervous at the time, and he looked at me and said, "You know what that does for you, son?" I said, "No." He says, "Not a goddamn thing if you can't play football." I proceeded to run out. I couldn't wait to tell the rest of my crew at the first interval of timeout, but it did relax me a little bit. And funny things like that, when you can realize what happens in officiating. You know, can you look at something funny or concentrate on something other than being screamed at and told to do things that are physically impossible. But I do have other people to thank too. My family, even though my son is here and he's the proud father, and I'm a proud grandfather of a baby boy born March 7th, Luke. And my sister, yes, and she will definitely go, my sister Bunny. And behind every good man, they say there's a very, very good woman, and I am fortunate to have one there. Marion Edwards. She absolutely will go right to heaven. I'm sure that there's a couple of tables that have warned her about that. But once again, it's been an honor and a thrill just to be here this evening, and this is the pinnacle of success. And God bless you, and have a great night. Thank you very much.
All right, I have three more winners here in the raffle. 049831, 049718, and 049682. Yeah, go to table 1, collect your prize. Thank you. Next is a woman who attended Ben Salem High School and Penn State. At Ben Salem, she competed in field hockey, basketball, and softball, and later at Penn State, performed in basketball and softball. Later, she taught and coached at several high schools in the area, and was also a health and physical education department head and athletic director. At Germantown High School, over the period of 10 years, she was the varsity basketball coach. Her teams won almost 200 games, a public league title, twice they were runners-up. And for the last 10 years, has served as the athletic program manager for the school district, supervising 21 girls and boys sports at 37 high schools. She also serves as executive director of the Women's Sports Foundation Philadelphia Awards Program, and is assistant principal, I don't know how she gets time to do all this, at George Washington High School. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello and congratulations to Linda McGee.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Pennsylvania State Hall of Fame City All-Star chapter for this award. I'm humbled to stand here among my fellow inductees. Congratulations to all of you. I know that I wanted to teach from the time that I was a kid. And it wasn't until my late teens that I decided that I could blend the two things that I love most in life, and that's working with people and being around sports. I played, I coached, I umpired, I was an AD, managed a program, and now I'm an assistant principal. And Folks, the most important lessons that I've learned in my life have come from my athletic background. And those are planning, preparation, and practice. When life throws hurdles in your path, if you've planned, if you've prepared, and if you've practiced, you'll be better able to leap those hurdles and land on your feet. I've had the pleasure of working with a great many people thus far in my career. I'm richer for their friendship and for their caring. There are far too many people to thank, and I'll just name a few, for being my family, my friends, the athletes, my coach, colleagues, and to my mentor. You know who you are, and you know how much you mean to me. Aggie, Barb, Dean, Bob, Carol, Diane, Dennis, Dottie, Eileen, Ed, Harry, Ina, Joe, Jill, Joyce, Katie, Karen, Kelly, Lisa, Elaine, Margie, Marianne, Mary, Mike, Cole, Pam, Pat, Rob, Jill, Rocket, Chris, Valerie, Walt, and Wayne. That's only some of them. Entire family together. I'd like to have my family stand to be recognized, please. My nieces did the Pledge of Allegiance. The youngest one signed. My brother and his wife traveled from Ben Salem. My sister and her family all the way from South Jersey. My parents took the train from Florida. They arrived last night. I'd like to thank my mom and my dad for shaping the person that I am. Thanks, Dad, for teaching me to observe and to analyze each and every detail of the situation, thinking about an action plan. Thanks, Mom, for instilling in me the ability to do all of that. My heart, my soul, my feet on the ground. I love you all. Congratulations. Thank you.
All right, three more winners. They are 049740, 049753, and 049840. Table 1, if you have it. Next, we have a representative of the media. He's a graduate of Bishop Kenrick High School and Slippery Rock. How many times have you heard Slippery Rock and say, well, I've never met anybody who went to Slippery Rock? Well, now you finally met somebody that went to Slippery Rock. He has spent 26 years, it's hard to believe because he looks like he's just out of college now, but for 26 years, he has been a sports writer in the Philadelphia area, the last 21 with the Philadelphia Daily News. And he has had a number of beats assignments in that career at the Daily News. He's covered the Eagles for several years, the Big Five, John Chaney and Temple basketball. That alone should get you into the Hall of Fame, right? For 10 years. He's covered several NCAA Final Four basketball tournaments. I'm very envious of the fact he's also been a golf writer for the Philadelphia Daily News and has covered the British Open and the Masters, among other majors. And he had the assignment before John Madden had his bus from the steakhouse, the Outback bus. John used to take the train every place. So he wrote a diary, Amtrakking to the Super Bowl with John Madden back in 1988. I bet you put a few pounds on that trip, right? In any event, he's a good friend, a personal friend of mine, and he's beat me on the golf course every time we've managed to play. He's an outstanding man. He's been a CYO coach in his parish, and I know there are a lot of people here tonight who are honoring him by their presence up at St. Philip Neri School in suburban Philadelphia, Montgomery County. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our inductee tonight from the Philadelphia Daily News, Kevin Mulligan.
Thank you, Harry, very much. Harry has made it perfectly clear to me that 3 a.m. will be here pretty soon, and he's got to be back on the air at KOAW by 5, so I'll do my best to meet Uncle Milt's time restrictions here, as much of a joke as they are. 3 minutes, he told us all. 3 minutes. You should have a drive-through window over there for your dinners. 3 minutes. As a sports writer, I guess I ought to make a sports announcement today, in case you missed it. The Phillies are not going to go 162-0. They finally lost a baseball game. And Jim Thome's batting average, unfortunately, he only had 2 hits today, and he's only batting .741 now. So we'll go welcome them home tomorrow. I should probably mention that there are many people here from St. Philip Neri Parish, where I coached for many years, and I understand they're taking bets on how long I'm going to go tonight. They've seen me do this at many CYO functions, and I've actually put some words down on paper to keep myself with some structure. I tend to ad-lib a lot. I want to thank the executive board and the directors and the officers of the City All-Star chapter, especially Milt Halstead, Joe D'Angelo, a good friend, back in my early days covering high school sports, and Ralph Per Capita, who's not here tonight, for helping to make this night so memorable for me. I'd also like to commend everyone associated with the City All-Star Game, which I covered for many years in my formative days as a reporter, and the local chapter for all the outstanding work you do to promote high school sports and the work that coaches do to help our young people in the community. I actually don't know how they learned about some of my involvement with youth in the community. I would like to know that at some point. That's kind of a private part of me. And my friends who are here, many of them can attest to the fact that I'm pretty uncomfortable in these situations. When you're a writer, you speak pretty much through the written word, and I'm not a spotlight kind of guy. But it's tremendously humbling to be joining such a prestigious company here tonight. I should mention that I'm the only one up here. I covered John Marzano pretty much every game of his high school career, football and baseball at Central High. And I remember the day Bob Coleman told me, this kid's going to be in the major league someday. I just missed Blair Thomas at Frankfurt High. And as an assistant coach and a former soccer player at Bishop Hendrick, I took quite a beating by George Totes, Archbishop Ryan Powerhouses. So thank you, George. I'll leave it at that. I have many people to thank here tonight for being here. And I have to start with my beloved family, headed by 2 first ballot selections for any Parents Hall of Fame. My mom and dad, Betty and Joe, if you'll please stand. Thank you, I love you. I'm part of a big Irish Catholic family, and I have the most supportive sisters and brothers anybody could ask for. 3 of my sisters are here tonight. Karen, who drove in from Pittsburgh, is here tonight. Patricia and Nancy, please stand. My sister Chris, there's a bunch of them. My sister Kate is celebrating the arrival of her first child, and my brother Terry out in Chicago could not be here tonight. My Uncle Ed, the godfather, is here. My cousin Eddie, thanks for being here and all your support. And at the risk of missing someone, if I have so many friends here from my coaching and CYO past at St. Philip Neri and Region 10. Many of them surprised me by being here tonight, and you know how much this means to me. And two of my good friends, the Mullins, Bill and Maria, are also here. If you could all stand and take a bow. I also have several of my former players in grade school who are now grown, lawyers, police officers in Philadelphia. Shocked me by being here tonight, and I have to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. You know who you are. I'd also like to thank my Daily News co-workers up here in the front, including a few people, previous Hall of Fame inductees who could not be here tonight. Most notably Mike Rathod, who he kind of rescued me from the wreckage of the folding of the Evening Bulletin and the Philadelphia Journal back in 1981, when there were a lot of unemployed sports writers looking for work. He saw something in me and helped me develop any talent he saw, and I owe him a great deal. He's down in Florida, happily retired, riding the bicycle we gave him for his retirement gift, and living the good life. And I want to thank him in his absentia. Bert Fleischman and Ted Solari, who you all know, are Hall of Fame inductees from the past who I also would like to thank and recognize. And at the Daily News table, Jim DeStefano, a longtime friend dating back to our early days in journalism, is here along with Lee Primavera, who's part of the glue of our sports department. Finally, I'd like to thank our executive sports editor, who you've been introduced to earlier today, Pat McClune. Pat, if you'll please stand for once in your life. Thanks for being here after another long day, getting out the area's best sports section for tomorrow. I'd like to thank Pat for his friendship, his understanding, and his unwavering support. I really can't thank Pat without briefly touching on a disability I have. I have had several elbow operations that took me away from my job and changed my life and changed my job, that took me away from the Eagles beat. It was beginning in 1996. I no longer type. Everything I generate for the newspaper is through the spoken word. And I'll leave it at that, but Pat has been there every step of the way from the day I was first diagnosed. Thank you, Pat. I'd also like to thank all the coaches who I've seen here tonight, and all the athletes I've covered in high school and college, including administrators that I've worked with and developed friendships with throughout my 26 years in newspaper reporting. It's fabulous when you come to these functions and see so many familiar faces. People like Joe Krantz, who's here to honor George, and Al Angelo from Frankfurt High. So many. The McEnannys, on and on. It's really part of the fun part of my job to develop friendships through the coverage of high school sports. And it's really special to have someone come up and start chatting about the old days and be remembered that way. Finally, I'd like to read a little something that kind of reinforces what I did in my younger days and what became a lifetime of work for me. I'm going to read this pretty quickly. It's something I've turned to through the years as a coach of young boys, baseball, soccer, and basketball. Whenever you have a bad day or a bad week and you're not sure you want to keep doing it another year, my elbow surgeries took me away from hands-on coaching and into the commissioner work with the CYO and the Archdiocese. I got this book. It's Thomas Boswell's best sports writing. Many years ago, I'm not going to read the signature at the bottom. It's a very personal thing, but it's something I have turned to off and on through the years. Dear Coach Kev, thank you so much for all you've done for me in my 3 years playing soccer, basketball, and baseball for you at St. Philip's. You're the reason I'm heading to LaSalle or the prep, ready in so many ways for what lies ahead of me in my life. You taught me responsibility, discipline, about being on time, and committing myself to being both a better person and student, as well as the best athlete I can be. You made me realize the potential I never knew I had, and gave me the confidence to become the leader you told me last year that I could become, but only if I wanted to. My parents and teachers are so proud of the strides I made this year to clean up my life and improve my grades and to become an honor student, and I owe all of it to you and the talk we had after last season. I'm even more proud of what I've done than I know you and my mom are. I'll never forget the lessons you taught all of us, and I hope I can someday pass on all of it to my own children and ball players, on and off the field. Thanks again, Coach Kev. It's a treasured possession of mine, and I want to thank him. Finally, I'm way past Milt's 3 minutes, I know that. Finally, I want to mention two heroes of mine who are here tonight. They don't know it, but their courage has been an inspiration to me every day as I've continued to deal with the physical limitations that my elbow surgeries have brought me. The first is a man whose 3 sons I coached, and two of them are here tonight. Vince McNichol. He was one of our country's carriers of the Olympic torch for the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics, and he did so on a prosthetic left leg. 8 years ago Monday, God took his youngest son. He took his youngest son to heaven after a courageous fight with cancer at the age of 15. Vince and his wife, Rose, are two of the most courageous people I know, and they're with us tonight. If you could stand, Vince and Rose. My other hero is Philadelphia's biggest sports fan, and perhaps its most knowledgeable, and sometimes its most critical. See Andy Reid, Larry Boa, Larry Brown, sometimes even the St. Joe's coaches. Not once has he ever complained about the cards he's been drawn in life. Chris DeJulia has lived his entire life in his wheelchair, afflicted with cerebral palsy. But you would never know it. He lives every day to the fullest, and he can really be a laugh a minute, except when his team lose big games. Like Vince, he has been a tremendous inspiration to me. Chris, give us a wave if you will over there. He's with his father's on. He's the athletic director of St. Joseph. Thanks to both of you, and God bless everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Next winners are 049830, 049818, 049593, and 049616. Table 1. Our next inductee is another downtown guy who went on to fame in North Carolina, graduate of Southeast Catholic, which is now St. John Newman High School. Played basketball there, and then played in the mid-50s at North Carolina State University. Now listen to some of the honors he won at NC State, and you have to wonder, how did this guy get away from the Big Five? He was an all-ACC tournament selection in 1958 and 1959. He was all-conference those 2 years. He also was the most valuable player in the Atlantic Coast Conference Tournament in 1959. He was the Player of the Year in the Atlantic Coast Conference in 1959, and he was the second-team All-American. And he also was a member of the All-Palestra visiting team that year. Now, other members of that team, Oscar Robertson from Cincinnati, Joey West from West Virginia, a fellow by the name of Wilt Chamberlain from the University of Kansas, and Bo Ellis from Niagara University. Like I said, how did this guy ever get away? Maybe he can tell us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, let's say hello and welcome home to Lou Pacino.
Ladies and gentlemen, first I want to thank my former Sunbury teammate, Bob Herlin, for submitting my name to the City Office by Chapter of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. I also want to thank its committee for their vote of confidence with my induction. It is gratifying that my wife Marcy, who grew up a few blocks from Roosevelt Boulevard, and our families to be here to share this happy occasion. If anyone doesn't believe in a miracle, you're looking at one. Just as my brother, sisters, or my South Philadelphia buddies, the odds of a skinny 5'9" choir boy being here receiving this prestigious award with these outstanding sports personalities. It all began 53 years ago when I made novena. I had a very selfish reason for making this novena. The nuns at St. Monica Catholic School told us that if we went to church 9 consecutive days, whatever we wished would come true. My wish was to play basketball like my idol Bob Cousy at a major university. I went out for the freshman team at Southeast Catholic and got cut. I didn't make the team my sophomore year either. I didn't go out my junior year in fear of failing again. I still love the game and played in the schoolyards 5 or 6 hours a day. I played in organized games in the CYO and PAL leagues, often 2 games in one night. I matured as a player, and Jack Kraft, the Southeast Catholic coach, invited me to be on the team. It was a very good team with 5 starters who had played together for 4 years, good enough to win the Catholic League championship. I was a reserve guard and only averaged 4 points a game. At this point, it appeared that my basketball career would be limited to the schoolyards and recreational leagues. College never entered my mind. I did have a dream, however. I remembered that our neighborhood hero, Paul Harrison, never played high school basketball, but yet was an All-Pro forward for the then Philadelphia Warriors. At age 17, my goal was to continue playing basketball every chance I had, and maybe, just like my hero, play in the NBA. My father was a school teacher at Temple High. He convinced me to take a Spanish course that summer just in case I decided to go to college. Neither of us knew anything about a basketball team. Once I heard about the team, I took 2 additional courses. Our coach, Ray Bones, put together a very fine team, and one of our teammates, Jerry Boyle, is here tonight. We were 25-1. I averaged 25 points a game and was finally having fun with the game I loved. One more major disappointment, however. We were playing a deaf and mute team. We weren't very well motivated. It wasn't much of a game, and I don't even remember how many points I scored. After the game, the coach told me there was a scout from NC State in attendance. I said, of all games, why this one? We had played some very good high school and college freshman teams. I didn't think I had a prayer. Later, I learned that scout was Vic Lucas, Everett Case's top assistant. Vic, who later became a very successful head coach at Duke in the 60s, offered me my one and only basketball scholarship. Because of our outstanding coaching staff, my teammates, particularly All-American center John Richter, also from Philadelphia, we enjoyed some successful seasons. In 1959, during our senior year, we were the first NC State team to be ranked #1 in the nation. We finished 4th and 6th in the AP and UPI polls. With the exception of playing basketball 2 years, one in Wichita, Kansas, and the other for Sunbury and Eastern League, I lived in Raleigh 46 years. I've been very lucky. I have a loving and caring wife of 42 years. We have 3 wonderful children, all married, and a 6-year-old granddaughter. 4 years ago, we sold our beverage brokerage business and finally fully retired. Yes, NC State, Raleigh, and the state of North Carolina have been very good to us. It has provided us much happiness. Nevertheless, I believe when you go to get a drink of water, you remember who dug the well. Remember your heritage. Remember who you are and where you're from. My heritage is how I learned to play basketball in the schoolyards and playgrounds in South Philly. My heritage is shooting baskets 4 or 5 hours a day in Baldwin Schoolyard at 16th and Porter and Shump. My heritage is playing league games at recreational centers where all the Jerry Rulos dedicate their lives helping kids develop their skills. I thank you, Jerry. In closing, without making light of my heritage, my coaches, my teammates, the media and the fans, I will always believe if that little nun didn't tell that fib, if you may have needed anything you wish would come true, I wouldn't be here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for one of the finest athletic programs in my life.
And the tickets there selected by Lou were 049819. And let's see, 049752, 049732. Table 1, if you have any of those numbers. Next, we have another Central High and Temple grad. Played varsity football and baseball at Central back in the mid-40s. He was the best athlete of the senior class at Central High. Then went to Temple on a football scholarship. And in addition to football, also played some varsity baseball. He finished the football season that first year as leading ground gainer on the freshman team. 1945, he was selected to play in the blue-gray game down in Montgomery, Alabama, and started at a halfback position. At the end of the 46 season, he was the leading ground gainer in college football in the East. And also in the end of the 46 season was selected to play in the backfield of the blue team against the gray in the blue-gray game. At the end of the 47 season, he was again the leading ground gainer in the East and the 4th leading rusher in the country. Played professionally with the Boston Yanks of the National Football League. Later that team moved to New York. They were known as the New York Bulldogs of the National Football League. He's an inductee of the Temple University Hall of Fame. He won 6 varsity letters at Temple. Also, he was an inductee into the Philadelphia Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. And out tonight, the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame Philadelphia chapter. Let's have a big hello for Philip Sonny Slossberg.
I want to thank the committee for selecting me for this honor. My career in competitive sports started in high school, playing baseball and football. Back in the early 40s. I'm retired now, in my middle 70s, and I'm still playing. I realized that I missed the competition and I still had that desire to win, so I started a new career in competitive sports. Only this time, I'm playing tennis and slow pitch senior softball. I think I'm going to read the rest of this because at my age, I can have one of those senior moments and forget half of the things that I wrote here. I'm playing this season with some youngsters in the Bucks County League for players 60 and over. Some of these youngsters are still working, so our games are played in the evening. I discovered last season that there were some regional, national, and international senior softball associations hosting tournaments all over this country, in Japan and Australia. These tournaments, however, charge the team's entry fee and requires all players to join either the National, International, or World Series Softball Players Association. To join and be registered, you have to send a check for $25, a current photo, and a copy of your driver's license for proof of age and residence. In return, you get a membership card to carry with your registration number, your picture, and that must be presented before each tournament begins. This is to prevent the teams from loading up with ringers or just for the tournament. I joined all three this year, and I'm now playing for a traveling team that is sponsored by a local car dealership to help defray some of the costs. We are already entered this season in 12 regional tournaments on the East Coast. And in October, we will compete in the National Senior Championship Tournament in St. George, Utah. I qualified last season and have been selected to play on the team that will represent Pennsylvania in the 2003 National Senior Olympic Games in June at Hampton Roads, Virginia. I'm also a member of a tennis club, and in the winter I play competitive tennis 4 or 5 times a week. This helps to keep me in shape for softball. When I grow up and get a little older, I might consider another competitive sport, but right now I'm a real happy camper. And the person most responsible for my new career is my wonderful wife, Bernice. We're married 52 years, and she's still waiting for me to grow up. I guess I better ask you to stand for these if I want to make it to 53. Actually, she is my biggest fan and encourages me to go for it. In fact, she is now my PR director. And if we win the championship in the national tournament, she wants to be my agent next year for the usual 15%. On behalf of Bernice and myself, I want to thank my family and our friends that are here tonight to share this honor with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sonny. Next, we have one of the most prolific high school and college football players to come out of the Philadelphia area. Attended Frankfort High School. In 3 years, he rushed for almost 4,000 yards. Scored 59 touchdowns. That's about, what, 20 a year? And then attended Penn State University. 2-year starter at Penn State, including the '86 team that won the national championship. He finished at the time second on Penn State's all-time rushing list with 3,300 yards and 21 touchdowns. He was less than 100 yards shy of Penn State's record that was set by Kurt Warner at the time. He and Kurt Warner, the only Nittany Lion backs to gain over 3,000 rushing yards and more than 4,000 all-purpose yards at Penn State. First player in school history to rush for more than 1,500 yards in 2 years. Heisman Trophy finalist in 1989. A Holiday Bowl record when he carried the ball 35 times for 186 yards and was also the MVP in his senior season at the Senior Bowl. He was the second overall pick in the 1990 National Football League draft by the New York Jets. He played 6 seasons, and as a rookie, started in 13 games, led the team in rushing, and his rushing total led all AFC rookies that year, averaging better than 5 yards a carry. He was hampered by nagging injuries, and now has gone on to a career in coaching, still in the Philadelphia area, and for now 5 years has been a running backs coach at Temple University. I know his head coach, Bobby Wallace, who is also here tonight, is glad to have him. Bobby, maybe you could just stand up. As I said, he's probably one of the most prolific high school players to come out of the city ever. And it's a pleasure to have known him now as I've been doing Temple football during his 5 years as an assistant coach with the Owls. Ladies and gentlemen, very mild-mannered guy, but one hell of a football player, Blair Thomas.
Thank you. I tell you what, it was like age before beauty here tonight. That's including you, John. You're not the youngest one up here, okay? I tell you what, I got that memo in the mail about 3 minutes, and then when Charlie Jarvis got up here and kind of went about 10 minutes, then Kevin seemed to surpass him going about 20 minutes. I figured we might as well camp out here tonight. We're going to be here a while. I have all night to enjoy this crowd. No, actually, I would like to thank the Philadelphia chapter of the City All-Star League Hall of Fame for inducting me into the Hall of Fame. It's really, truly an honor. When I got the phone call, I was kind of put off balance there. I thought it was like a trick or something. I have so many friends locally that called me and pulled pranks on me that I thought this was another trick. But it wasn't, and I'm truly pleased to be here. Really honored. I'd like to thank all the administrators of Temple University for coming out to support so many Temple award winners here tonight. It's really, truly an honor to be up here on the stage with them. And that leads me into one of the reasons why I was so successful. I was kind of reading through some of the past award winners once we got the letter, and Herb Adderley, Wilbur Montgomery, Mike Quick, guys I grew up idolizing and following their careers, Harold Carmichael. And I think, a lot of people don't know this, but I think Harold Carmichael was probably the single most guy responsible for my competitive nature. Some people that know me, I'm very competitive. I hate to lose, no matter what it is. It could be a walk to that back door right there, and I want to win. But I'm very competitive. And when I was growing up, Harold Carmichael had a television program. Some of you guys may have remembered the Junior Super Sports. And it was an event where they went to various high schools and you would keep competing in different events, whether it was sit-ups, push-ups, a 40-yard sprint. But I think that was the thing that kind of got my juices flowing of I wanted to compete and I wanted to be viewed as one of the top competitors around. So just to look at that and be in the same Hall of Fame with a guy like that really touched me deeply. That moves me on to my high school career and playing under a very great coach, Al Angelo. Please stand. A lot of people don't know this, but I grew up in North Philadelphia, but I commuted up to Frankfort High School because I did some research at a young age, and they had the best football program. And being a public league guy and a kid going to public school, I wanted to be a part of that, and I figured that he would give me the knowledge and the information I need to go on to the next levels to get into the pros, because that was my dream and my goals. So Al Angelo and Ron Howley taught me the fundamentals of the game, and some of the things that I learned while I was in high school, I still teach my players, and I tell them about aiming points, head placement, trying to get your head inside, for positioning on a block. And those are things that I learned at a very young age. And sometimes we as coaches tend to get away from those fundamentals, but that's what the game is about, the fundamentals of the game. And that's what I drive on. I try to go back to the fundamentals that I learned so many years ago. And if it wasn't for him, I probably would have never went on to Penn State to play college football up there. But I thank him for giving me that guidance and that direction to help me do those things. And then I get up to Penn State and I meet, some friends that I have in the audience here today. Vince, stand up, please. Everyone knows Vince. They know he's a riot. Vince Nolan, Kathy Fox, Vince's son, Mike. I mean, all those people, for them to be able to come here and be with me tonight, in which I'm being honored, is just it just gives me joy for those people to be able to come out and experience this with me. And I can't leave out my family. I start out with my sister Tangi and Linda. Both my sisters here. And the thing about my family is they don't just support me as a player, they support me through my career. Whether I'm playing or not, they have supported me over the years, and I really appreciate that. I have my niece here, even though she's older than me, and her husband, Sean. They come out to our Temple games now and give us support, and I appreciate those things. A lot of times those things are going unnoticed, but this is my opportunity to let them know that I appreciate the support that they give me throughout my career, whether I was a player and now as a coach. Okay? So I really thank those guys for that, and everyone thought I was going to forget my mother. I can't forget her. My mother has been so supportive over the years. I just remember as a high school player, and this is some of the things that high school players don't do. They may do it, I don't know, but I know what my goals were when I was in high school, that I wanted to be the best athlete that stepped on the field when I was on the field. And I would get up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and jog around the cemetery up there, 33rd and Lehigh, come down Lehigh Avenue, racing the bus, to work on my accelerations when I'm tired at the end of my run. And then when I would get home, my mother would have breakfast for me. I mean, that right there, says a lot for the type of woman she is and the things she's done for me and the respect that I have for her. For her to wake up at, it'd take me probably 35, 40 minutes before I completed the run to have breakfast there for me to make sure that, I was nourished and able to perform at the top of my level. So I thank her. Thank you, Mom. Stand up, please. And then to further my career and to wind down my career and get into the area concerned with players, before I got the Temple job, I actually tried to volunteer my time when Ron Dickerson was the head coach at Temple, and they didn't have that thing where you couldn't be a volunteer coach. And then the next year, Coach Wallace got the head coaching job, and I was very fortunate enough to get an interview there, and got an interview from Coach Wallace, who you guys, he stood up earlier, and stand up again, Coach. This will give me the opportunity to give back to the younger players the things that I learned over my career, being coached by great coaches as Al Angelo, Joe Paterno, Bill Parcells. Some of the greatest coaches in football. I got a chance to absorb some knowledge from all these great coaches. And for me to try to instill those in some of the players that I'm getting a chance to coach is just an honor, and I thank you for that. I know Coach Hager was here. I see him in the back. Coming in as a coach, inexperienced at this level. For the guidance that he's given me, And now that I recruit the Philadelphia area, I get a chance to go into these high school, public and Catholic league, and get a chance to meet with some of the coaches that's in the audiences here today. I appreciate you guys being here to support me in this day. So I thank you guys as well. I almost forgot one guy. I don't know if he's still here. Matt Evangelist, the guy I got a chance to play with in high school. Stand up, Matt, if you're still here. Yeah, got a chance to play with Matt. So the Philadelphia area is a rich tradition for me, and I love this area, and I love being here. And last but not least, I got to introduce my better half, Lisa Koza. Please stand. She's been through a lot with me, through a lot of different things, and her parents is here as well. They have supported me. They come out to games with me, gaming out there. So, it seemed like as I, talk to people around the room, this whole room is pretty much my family, and I appreciate you guys for all the support you've done. And I just wanted to make sure that I surpassed Kevin here tonight on this podium, and I think I've done it. Thank you guys very much.
Larry, I hate to tell you, she's still got about 6 minutes. Good thing Tommy D. Blues is in here. No, I love Tommy. Tommy, he'd keep us here till the weekend. All right, we have reached the end of the line here, I guess. Pressure's on our next inductee. We're already past the 9:30 deadline, so I guess he can go. Another Father Judge guy, who also went to the same school I did for college, St. Joe's University, where he was first and all-Catholic soccer player at Father Judge, 4-year soccer player at St. Joe's, and as Kevin Mulligan already mentioned, a prolific coach at Archbishop Ryan High School. He began there in August of 1969 and has been coaching varsity soccer at Ryan now for 34 years. His record, he's won 12 Catholic League championships. The 84 to 88 team set a city record for most consecutive games without a loss, 61. His 88 team is also ranked 4th nationally. He has won several Coach of the Year honors. He was the National Coach of the Year for boys soccer in 1988. He's been honored by soccer coaches in southeastern Pennsylvania as Coach of the Year. Recently honored in Sports Illustrated for all-time record wins as a high school coach in Pennsylvania. He broke the record of 521 victories that was held for over 20 years. His record at Ryan, 521 wins, 106 losses, and 94 ties. And it's our honor tonight to bring to the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, George Turk.
Okay, at the end of the night here, I'll try to move this along real quick for everyone. It's certainly an honor to be on the dais with such distinguished gentlemen here and ladies of tonight. Certainly great athletes like Blair. I've had a chance through my career to pass through the lives of some of these people. Charlie Jarvis and I grew up in Ben Salem as grade school and high school friends, and I know Tommy McLean as an official in the league for many years. But the one I feel sorry about is Kevin Mulligan the most, because in one of my first championships we ever won, Kevin wrote the last story for the Philadelphia Journal. It closed the next day. So I've always wanted to apologize to that, Kevin. That was your last article, and I really felt responsible for that. So I really would like to thank Mr. Halstead and the other officers of the city chapter for including me in this honor tonight. It's certainly an honor to receive such an award, but a little unlucky to have the last name alphabetically. So I promise to speak fast. I know that Mr. Doherty and my buddies want to get to the bar back there. I came to Archbishop Ryan in 1969, straight out of college, as a 21-year-old kid who got the chance to become a teacher and a varsity soccer coach in his very first year. I was a kid coaching other kids. In those early years when I was learning how to teach and coach, I was lucky to have 3 very strong role models in my life because of the way they conducted themselves in their vocation I was able to watch them and learn from them on how to become a teacher and a coach. The first one was my father. He taught me that as a parent or as a coach, you just have to be there for your family. I've never had to ask for help. He just seemed to know when I needed it. And he's there when I was in trouble without me even asking for it. He taught me how to be there for my family, and eventually this applied to my students and to my players. The second very strong influence in my life in my early years was the priest at Ryan. He was a teacher and became our principal. His name was Father Liguri. Through his devotion to our school and to our students, he taught me the importance of service to others. Not to look upon our role as teachers and coaches as the center of attention, but as a gift which demands sacrifice and concern to the students and players who are entrusted to us. He didn't just talk about this, he lived it. Father always inspired me with his laughter, that he always knew everyone's name. He went out of his way in the service of those who were his disciples. And the third real strong influence in his first years when I started coaching was the first varsity football coach at Ryan. Many of you know him here, John Quinn. For all of us who were young coaches at Ryan in those early years in the 70s, he immediately became our mentor. John taught me to value young men who are our athletes. He always saw them as someone else's son. He'd always say, treat them as you would want someone to treat your son. John lived one philosophy: do it honestly and show respect to those that compete with you and against you. He always said if you do the right thing, you work real hard, success will follow. I always remember John would come in on a Monday morning after a big game on a Sunday, and he would call the opposing coach from the other school and just make contact with the guy. And whether he won or lost the game, he'd always tell the guy what a great job he did. And that kind of respect and that kind of connection really influenced me a lot, and it showed me that you really have to have a strong feeling for those that you compete against. His message touched all of us at Ryan. And I count myself blessed to be influenced by his knowledge, his presence, and his devotion to all work around him. However, I drew the line with John when it came to how he dressed as a coach. You ever saw him walk out to practice with his hat and feather and his hole in his pants and stuff like that? Well, you know what I mean for those who knew John, so I'll leave that there. I know that my values were greatly influenced by these three men, and I thank them for showing me the right way to be a father, a teacher, and a coach. As far as Ryan and soccer goes, I was blessed to get the chance to build a program from scratch. I was the first coach in a new school. It was up to me to build the field, set the goals, develop the pride and traditions which have become Ryan Soccer. Now it's 34 years later, and all the success that we've had is directly related to the talent and to the determination of the great players that I've had the chance and pleasure to coach. These young men wanted to become the best, and they had the drive and work ethic to achievement. In my 34 years, there are just hundreds of young men with whom I've had the pleasure to share this special time in their lives. They come into high school as 14-year-old kids, where sports is the most important thing in their lives, and they leave as 18-year-old young adults. During this time, we created wonderful memories of victories, great games against tough opponents, championships, and other memories, which I know that they keep special in their lives. So tonight, I want to thank some of the guys that showed up. It really means a lot to me. Guys like Jimmy Avato, Art McWilliams, Ron Osquier, Dave Von Tempo. Their names span 5 decades. Mike Nelms, who tells everybody he scored the greatest goal in the history of Ryan Soccer, and has the video to prove it, I think. Mike Churchville, and all these guys back there. I probably missed somebody. It truly was a pleasure and a blessing to be your coach and to be your friend. And to all of the players and coaches and assistants who have helped me to develop Ryan Soccer into the program it's become, I can only say it was an honor to coach and work with you. I hope that you're as proud as I am of all that we've accomplished together. Whatever honors a person receives in his life, and many of us up here have been very lucky to have people notice what we've done, I always tell my players that there's nothing more important in life than family, especially your family and your friends. So to my family seated over here is my wife Beverly, who came into my life 9 years ago. She never saw a soccer game in her life before that, and I was never at the theater, so we've kind of had an influence on each other's lives. To my mom, and my sister and her husband JB, to my children Denise and her husband Michael, and my son Ryan. Both Denise and Ryan are also teachers with me at Archbishop Ryan High School. They've been there as students and moved on, and they're fellow educators with me now. To my son George, who couldn't be here tonight, he's an officer in the United States Navy serving on the USS Simpson. Your love and support was essential to me. Your constant concern for me and your devotion to my needs helped me be able to balance the roles of son, father, and husband with the responsibility as coach and athletic director. You are the loves of my life, and Ryan Soccer is my life's work. There's a saying that says that a friend is someone that can see through you and still enjoy the show. There are two special people in my life who have been my sideline friends, and they have a lot to do with my success as a coach and certainly as a person at Ryan Soccer. Walt Bradby's been my assistant coach for 25 years and my assistant athletic director. He's also the guy that keeps me humble very easily every day with his comments and talking about me to my friends. But more than anything, he was there in my best times of life and in my worst times, and throughout his counsel, I don't think I could have made it. And Brother Patrick McCormick, one of our Franciscans, and the Franciscans have been, there are many of them passed through my life, and he's just one of the latest. And his role as moderator he helps with our children when they're in trouble, and he's just there for me as a friend. These two guys saw through me and amazingly stayed around. And to the guys at Philadelphia Catholic League Soccer who have made the experience of as a coach, there's always takes two great teams to have a great game. And I've been lucky to have a fraternity of coaches in the Philadelphia Catholic League that I've competed with and worked with, and they've made the game so special. Their respect, I think, that we have for one another, and all the work that they've given the league and the players. Joe Krantz, Dave Bontempo, John Amarin, Jerry Brindisi, Jim Murray, all you guys truly have made the game of soccer and my experience in it. Bob Peffel, certainly Bob. And Bob always likes to say he gave me 50 of his wins, but that's not true at all. It was only 49. I would really like to thank you guys for hanging in there with me and being there all along the way. And lastly, I think I always tell people I wear 3 hats. I'm a teacher, and amazingly, the only French major in St. Joe's history that would be an athlete and a French major in college. So I teach French, and I'm a soccer coach, but my real function in school is as the athletic director of Archbishop Ryan High School. I've been that for 30 years. I'd like to thank a lot of the guys that came here tonight to support me. I think Franny Doherty, Harry Camp, Eddie D, Chuck Knowles, I'm probably missing somebody back there. All these guys that have worked with us day in, day out. I'd like to thank them for their support and patience with me all over the years. Their guidance and counsel have helped to make the Catholic League an organization to be proud of. I value the bond that we've developed as friends, and I feel that it's the glue which holds together all the traditions and values that's made the Philadelphia Catholic League special. I'd like to thank everyone here tonight for the support. It's great to see how many families have come to support everyone here tonight, and I truly appreciate mine for all they've been there all my life. Thank you very much.
We are finally done. I want to thank everyone for coming. I just want to make a couple of statements here, and I want to give out the lifetime memberships. And I'd just like to talk a little bit about becoming a member, whether it's a regular member or a life member, and support the Hall of Fame, and support what we do for the young athletes and young ladies that are in the high school and need the deserving scholarships to continue their education. That's what this is all about. If you're here, I'd like you to come up and get these lifetime memberships. Pam Speck, Judy Wolstenholm, John Koskinen, Anthony Gambone, Phil Schlossberg, Joe Stanley, Art McNally, Rich Savinsky, and Jim Casey. And I want to thank all of you for becoming life members. I got a couple other announcements I just want to make. I want to thank all the people on the board, the Bob Clarks. I'm not going to go through the whole list, they're in the program. The Bob Clarks, the Frank Cotts, the Jody Angelo, and most truthfully, I want to thank Diane Carroll, and who's the administrative assistant, and Mike Poland. They do great work, and they help me out a great deal. The other thing I'd just like to say is, I want you to keep up the continued support. I want you to have, somebody just gave me a note here. I gotta read this. We would like to wish good luck to the police and fire department football team this coming spring and their head coach, John McEnany. They're gonna play May 10th at Franklin Field. It's something new that's starting, I guess. Where's John? Is he here? John's in the back. John wears about 9 different hats and about 22 uniforms in the city, and he took on the task of becoming the coach of the police and firemen's football team this year. So if you can support it, I'm sure it'll be in the paper somewhere. The first game is May 10th at Franklin Field. Again,
NYPD, May 10th, at 1 o'clock in Franklin Field.
I just said that. All right, I think I said that, but maybe I didn't. But anyways, I want to thank all the board members. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I want to thank the award winners. God bless you, and have a safe trip home.